those who bleed orange and black.
It is out of here!
Good morning. This is Murph and Marcus. Brian Murphy and Marcus the Waterboy Boucher. Streaming live at twitch.tv/The Sports Leader. Sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly.
What do you say we just finished 2025 with a bang? Set the clocks earlier. Come on. We got a 6 a.m. audience to feed. So that's exactly what we're going to do. But we're out of here with a short one today, all the way until 8:30. And then we will hand it off to some bowl games. Then we are off tomorrow. And we'll be back on Friday for another 7 a.m.er. But come on. We got the 6 a.m. crowd ready to go as we close out the year. It is Silver. It is Depop in for Murph and Marcus on the final day of let's just call it an eventful 2025, all things considered. Derek, good morning. And I feel like so much happened. You probably had so much free time after the short transition between Monday and Tuesday. You had like the full day yesterday. So did anything change? Any big life updates?
Not really, Greg Silver. On an hour early to talk Brock Purdy. Took a little nap afterwards. Did my podcast with Mr. Stephen Langford later in the day.
JYOM.
And then, yes. And then, just got some grocery shopping done and prepared for this big interview we got at 8 o'clock today.
Oh, you were talking about the big hit, which is with the one and only John Lynch. And like the 49ers Player of the Week, normally that's a Murph and Marcus privilege, but we're going to have the chance to talk to John. And we actually did interview him briefly around this time of year last year when we were filling in, but different circumstances. Now, remember, we talked about his early days playing in Tampa Bay and what it was like before they became a Super Bowl winning team, before they became competitive, and before John Lynch started vaulting his career into Hall of Fame levels, and what it was like to miss the playoffs and be playing games that, and I put in quotes, air quotes, lacked meaning because there's so few NFL games. But the 49ers haven't had that issue this year, and this is year 9 of Lynch and Shanahan and their partnership. And even though that they've hit a couple of Super Bowls, they've had a couple of Super Bowl hangovers where they missed playoffs, I got to feel like for John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, this year holds some unique traits unlike any of the previous 8.
No, 100%. I think that they said it before the season started when Kyle Shanahan was talking about expectations for this year. And he was like, let's see what happens. Obviously, the goal is playoffs every single year, but my expectations are not Super Bowl or bust. It kind of goes back to when I first started with the 49ers in 2017 and 2018. And no one wants that record that they had those seasons, but you're building something brand new all over again. It's not a rebuild. It's a competitive rebuild. You still got Brock Purdy in place and, your mainstays on defense and Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, but it's a whole new thing. But it was interesting yesterday talking to Matt Mayoko, Greg, where I think you brought this up to him. This might be or is the biggest game in Levi's regular season history. And I'm trying to think of another game like that. I think this is it. We brought up winning in scenarios, or not winning in scenarios, but win and elevate yourself in the playoff scenarios in years past. And of course, this mirrors 2019, the regular season finale, where they faced off against the Seattle Seahawks, the goal line stand with Dre Greenlaw. This game is exactly that. And Kyle Shanahan was asked about that yesterday, and he said that holds no relevance because it's a totally different team. But, it's the same teams, it's the same situation, so that's why we bring it up. Also reminds me of the finale in 2021 where it was different circumstances for the 49ers. They had to win to get in against the LA Rams. The Rams already clinched a playoff berth at that point. But yeah, this game is probably the biggest regular season game in Levi's history.
I think it is. And I think the other one in the conversation is the one going into last Sunday night. And the reason that we're talking about this one being the biggest, because if you don't beat the Chicago Bears, it's different circumstances. Not to say that there's no value of this game, but it's not the brawl for it all, as Tim Ryan has noted, and I've repeated over and over and over on these airwaves. The Rams lost one game. I'm talking about before the Falcons. They lost the Thursday night game, and because the Niners and the Seahawks continue to win, well, they were out of the number 1 seed conversation. This has been the most unforgiving division that we have ever seen. And yes, I know the NFC North last year was sensational between the Packers, the Vikings, and the Detroit Lions, and we had a Week 18 showdown between Sam Darnold's Vikings going up against an injured Detroit Lions defense, and the Lions completely disposed of them. But guess what? None of those teams won a playoff game. I would be stunned, Derek, stunned, if we're talking about the NFC West going 0-3 in these playoffs. I know it feels wide open. I know that anybody could theoretically come out of both of these conferences for sure with all of the youth, all the turnover, no Patrick Mahomes. Josh Allen's team's looking a little shaky. Lamar Jackson might not be in the playoffs. And then on this conference alone, the defending Super Bowl champions and what you would think is the most logical threat, they look like a mess offensively right now. So, yeah, it could happen. And I said every round is like a version of roulette. But if the NFC West goes 0-3 in the playoffs, I would be completely shocked.
I would not be, because we've been talking about this for the last few weeks now, that everything's up in the air in the NFC. Yes, the 49ers are playing really, really well right now, but their biggest flaw is their defense. With the Rams, it's their defense as well. With the Seahawks, their biggest flaw is Sam Darnold. I can see any of those three factors playing a role in their playoff matchups. And I know that people are really low on the Eagles right now. They are the defending champions. And I would say, yes, the 49ers are scoring a ton of points right now. I'd rather have a good defense going into the postseason than a really good offense, because I think a defense translates better to the style of play as opposed to what the 49ers are doing right now. They're playing great, and we'll talk about power rankings and everything going into the postseason, but I would not be the least bit surprised if the Rams, the 49ers, or the Seahawks are eliminated in their first playoff matchups. I think anything's on the table in this NFC playoffs.
808 KNBR is the number for the next 2.5 hours. John Lynch joining us at 8 o'clock. We will do a replay. That's right. We're incorporating elements of all shows. It's the time of the morning show. It's the replay tendency of the morning show. One of the hosts from the middays and one of the hosts from the afternoon. And we got our guy, John Joe Curley, Jacob Violante hanging behind the glass. By the way, quick aside. So I was driving back from my parents' place on Monday after the show. And so I wasn't really listening to much of the leader, but I had about 15 minutes left in the drive, and I'm thinking, oh, cool, Dirty Work's actually about to start. This bowl game's going to end. So I'm turning it on, just listening to whatever it is, the wrap-up of the bowl game, some commercials, and not paying much attention. I hear you start the show with Dirty Work, and I know Carlos was about 30 seconds late to join, and I'm thinking, oh, no, is Derek going to be solo this whole time? You and Jacob just started going back and forth, and it was cracking me up. So, Jacob, good to have you in, my man. And like I said to you when I walked in, let's just keep setting these clocks earlier and earlier. How about a 4 a.m. show tomorrow on New Year's Day?
No, thank you, Silver. No, thank you. 5 a.m. is the earliest I will ever walk into this building.
All right, fine. I'll take that. 808
I'll never
KNBR.
walk in that building at 5 a.m.
Yeah, I was going to say, Derek's not even in the building right now. In a true Papa fashion. 707 says, thank goodness the new national shows before you are not my favorite. So that kind of takes me back to the Dirty York backhanded compliment bit. I appreciate that, 707. 559 going, Happy New Year's, guys. I really appreciate listening to the leader and all the time spent. I feel like extended family. Hey, you are extended family, 559. There's no question about it. YouTube chat, 49ers Red Zone. Y'all again? Morning, fellas. Yeah, that's right. Come on. Not everyone can get some time off at this time of year. And then we got a morning, fellas, don't drink too much tonight. Hey, look, do whatever you want as far as that, but please, please, please be safe out there on the roads. This is one of those nights where I do not like being on the road in general. That includes being in an Uber and having someone else drive. That includes being completely sober and having somebody else drive. It's just one of those where it is not worth it. And by the way, it's going to start raining for the next week or so. And so it was a little bit wet when I was going outside, not quite dumping on me yet, but for all the jokes and all the riffing we're going to do today, please enjoy your new year, but do it safely, because at the end of the day, it is just not worth it with some of those mistakes.
No, 100%. Be safe tonight. What are your plans tonight, Greg Silver? Are you, because we were talking about yesterday with Marcus Thompson, where I was like, I think New Year's Eve's kind of overrated now, where I'll go hang out a little bit, but I'm not trying to, spend a ton of money tonight, or actually coming down with a cold too, so I don't really know what my plans are. But What are you doing tonight, Greg Silver?
Yeah, when you get to the end of the holiday season like this, I think there's always a little bit of fatigue level in terms of the money spent, the alcohol consumed, the calories in general consumed. And so thinking I'm going to go home, probably run a little bit of errands before I get really tired. Got to take a nap at some point in the afternoon. And then I think I might hit a couple of the local spots here in the Mission, because there's a lot of good ones I have tried, ones I haven't tried. And so might be doing that in the early evening, but I think by the time we get to that 10 p.m. and beyond window, it's going to be a hangout at home and try to do something relaxing. We got a record player, maybe watch a movie, something like that. But I think it's going to be on the low-key side of a New Year's for me.
Nice. I like that. Are you going to Dick Clark it or Ryan Seacrest these days?
I mean, maybe starting at 11:56 for like a little bit of nostalgia and tradition, but Now, you think I'm going to be watching the ball drop and then, the random, who is it? It's Mark Wahlberg's brother. What's his name? Donnie
Wahlberg.
Is he still dating Jenny McCarthy? Are they married? Because that was always the big thing.
Are they?
There was always the massive New Year's kiss.
I still have my heart set on Jenny McCarthy and Jim Carrey being an item, but maybe that's years ago.
This is the important fact checking we got to do here at this stage in the morning. So,
Jacob, fact check that.
We'll get to all of that in a bit. Coming up, we'll start diving into the 49ers. And before we know it, dude, this Seahawks game is creeping up fast, not just for us, but for the team. It's a Saturday night. So we got the show today. It's a short one. Off tomorrow. Then we got another one on Friday. And then the day after that, 5 o'clock, we're talking about kickoff at Levi's Stadium between the 49ers and the Seahawks. All eyes turn to George Kittle, who was back at practice. All eyes turn to Trent Williams. So Kyle Shanahan spoke to the media yesterday. Let's play some of those quotes and break it down when we come on back. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627 is the number to join the conversation. Greg Silver, Derek Papa, in for Murph and Marcus on the Sports Leader.
Now, from the O'Donnell Financial Group Sports Desk. Learn more at odfigroup.com. O'Donnell Financial Group, because planning is a process, not a product.
3 words, Niner fans. John Lynch interview. That's going down at 8 a.m. on the morning show. Keep it locked in here if you want to hear that guy talk about everything having to do with the Niners, baby. Win it all on Saturday. Number 1 seed in the NFC and a first-round bye in the playoffs. Keep it locked in here on the Sports Leader if you want to hear John Lynch talk Niners.
And now it's time for the Protect Your Assets Business and Technology Report with me, David Hollander.
Now back to Murph and Marcus on The Sports Leader. Streaming live on thesportsleader.com and KNBR. The Sports Leader app. Murph and Marcus is sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly.
DJ Violante ripping the tunes with us this morning. It's Silver, it's D-Pop in for Murph and Marcus. We're taking the show to 8:30 today, so good morning to everybody out there. 808 KNBR is your number to join the conversation. And we are talking about the 49ers finally turning the page, getting ready for the Seattle Seahawks. And here was Kyle Shanahan yesterday on the prospect of Trent Williams being able to give it a go Saturday night after he exited on the very first play against the Chicago Bears. Here's what your head coach had to say.
Any further evaluation on Trent, his hamstring, how long that might be?
No, we're not sure how long. I'm giving a shot for this week, so we'll see. Yeah.
All right, so Kyle Shanahan keeping it short and sweet, as you could expect. And, look, Derek, we've been following the season all year long, and I think it's fair to say that when it comes to the Wednesday practices or the Wednesday equivalent of practices, you're not going to get a whole bunch of information. Now, there's certain players who maybe you would like to see back at practice, but for the most part, guys get vet days. Trent Williams has missed just about every Wednesday in general. It's why it's a silver lining that Austin Pleasance has gotten a good amount of first-team reps, because he's been doing it on the days where Trent Williams is getting the vet days. So Christian McCaffrey had a little back tightness. That was noteworthy. I wouldn't be too concerned about that one just yet. George Kittle was back on the field in a limited capacity. Upton Stout is in the concussion protocol, but he was limited as well. And so, again, as far as the Trent Williams goes, going to give it a shot. Still a long way to go. And I imagine that when we talk to John Lynch at 8 o'clock, there's probably not going to be any grand update, though you bet we're going to try to find something out.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle's a tough cookie to crack sometimes when it comes to injuries, and that's why I don't really like to pry on those things, because we're not going to find information about that. He'll give you what he needs to give you as part of his requirements and press conferences, but that was nothing. That was absolutely nothing when it comes to Trent Williams. And, yeah, as you just said, Greg, he's taking a vet day every single Wednesday before a Sunday game or whatever game. This week it's Tuesday on a Saturday night. So I would lead in the direction probably that Trent Williams is not going to play. And we haven't. Do we know if it's a pulled hamstring, if it's a strain, it's a torn? We don't know the severity of the hamstring yet, do we?
No, I haven't heard anything as far as the severity goes. But I mean, a tear would certainly be something that is a problem, because that's probably, we're not seeing him for the rest of the year. That's what George Kittle had. It just straight up tore off the bone, and we didn't find that out until he was ready to come back. But they put him on the IR pretty quick, and what was it, the Falcons game, week 7, when we finally saw him again? So that was an instant exit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he was, not a decoy. He had impact blocking that game, just not a reception recorded. But, yeah, I would say at this point, I would anticipate that Trent Williams is not going to play. I wouldn't push this. Now, if he can play, Trent Williams is how old? 37, 38. He knows his body at this point, and he knows what's best for the football team at the same time. But if it's going to be where he could, make it even worse, then don't go out there. It's not worth it. You need Trent Williams for the postseason. Now, you also need Trent Williams for this game, because the Chicago Bears are a good defense, not a great defense. They're an opportunistic defense. They get takeaways. But as far as sacks, they're not really great in that department. They had 22 sacks on the season. The Seahawks are much better, where they're 8th on the season right now when it comes to sacks. especially in their interior front, where Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams have 14 combined between the two of them. That's the most amongst interior pass rushers in the NFL. So he's not going to go up against those guys. It would be the outside pass rushers in Wosu, the outside linebacker, or DeMarcus Lawrence. So that's where they need Trent Williams. But if Austin Pleasance needs to go, then that's the case. I think that, Trent Williams is vital to their success going forward. But if it's just one game and hopefully you get him back and you can win this game and they get some rest on a bye week, then I say rest Trent Williams.
Here's where I was thinking more in depth on the Trent Williams situation yesterday, because as you noted, I wasn't going to expect Kyle Shanahan to reveal anything definitive, especially with well over 72 hours to go before we even play this game. But we've talked about Christian McCaffrey and how he's been available for every game. And in a season when you've lost Ricky Pearsall for a time, you've lost Brock Purdy for a time, George Kittle, then on the other side of the ball, we know Nick, Fred, Michael. Christian McCaffrey has been your constant. He has played in every single game. If you played fantasy football, congratulations. It wasn't the fate you suffered there in 2024 if you got the number one pick. But Trent Williams has also played every game up until he exited in the Bears game. And I think that's kind of been the forgotten part of this season in the offense and the stability. And I know that Trent had an up and down first month of the season for the very, very high standard that he has set. But Trent Williams has not played 16 games in a season, Derek, since 2013, when he was with Washington, back when there were only 16 games to be played. So now he's technically hit that mark, but it's really 15 plus one snap being out there. So we don't really know what this team's going to look like without Trent Williams. And even remember in the Super Bowl run, when they started 5-0, then they had the 3-game skid, then they had their bye, they totally regrouped. They were an entirely different operation out there with Trent Williams, and that's with probably healthier Christian McCaffrey, or I should say more effective statistically. That was with a Brandon Ayuk, who was second-team All-Pro. That was with the Deebo Samuel. And so, yeah, Austin Pleasance did a really nice job having to fill in on the fly. We talked about the first-team reps he's been getting, but if you don't have Trent, I don't care if he's 37 years old. Just because he's not 100% of Trent Williams the entirety of this season, look, kind of like the conversation we had with Marcus Thompson yesterday, if you get 75% of Fred Warner back, that's probably better than what you got. If you can get a 75% of Trent Williams against the Seattle front, trust me, you'll absolutely take that.
No, 100% you would. And I think that if it's 75%, he's going. But if he's going to be 50%, if it's 45%, if there's a gigantic risk that he could make this even worse, then it's not worth him going out there. So I hear you, Greg. They have definitely gotten used to playing without Trent Williams at times these past few years. Last year, he did not play in a big deal or a great amount of games. So I would say it's in order for their long-term success, they need Trent Williams. But for this game in particular, I think they can get by. I think that I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Austin Pleasance plays well. That's how this team has operated through the entire year. They've been so resilient through all injuries. Now, Trent Williams is their best offensive lineman by far. But you would also see at the beginning of the year that George Kittle was their best tight end by far, and Jake Tonjes has stepped up. So many guys have stepped up this season. So if it's just one game, then by all means, do not make this a thing where now another Pro Bowl, All-Pro player is out for the season. You need Trent Williams in order to have success to make a playoff run, Super Bowl run even.
So I think the question here for Trent Williams is, would you rather risk the number one seed or risk Trent's health? Because, I mean, if you put Trent Williams out there, you could still lose the game. It doesn't guarantee that you ultimately win. Now, I was curious to hear what Kyle Shanahan had to say on that notion yesterday, and he said, dude, we empty the tank every single game. We've been in that mode for weeks now, which I get because nothing's given in the NFL, and you can't be thinking about, oh, well, we got to get the number one seed, and we're playing for this, and Shanahan's been around too long. He's experienced too many twists and turns to have that kind of mindset that us on the radio or your average fan might be looking ahead to. You got to stay focused on the task at hand week by week. But I think for the discussion of being on the radio and looking ahead, it is fair to ask, Derek, is Trent Williams with a hamstring injury, would playing him be too much of a gamble? Because this is not a pain tolerance injury like it is with Brock Purdy when he eventually came back. It was like they were at a point when Brock came back that they acknowledged he's not going to be at 100% the rest of the year, although he looks pretty damn good right now. So I don't know what 100% would be for him. And it was just about tolerating the pain and working through it. Hamstring injuries aren't like that. Okay, you could get out there and you don't do a pain injection and all of a sudden it's like, great, we're playing through this. That is a really, really high risk of re-injury right there. And so for Trent, again, I'm not saying that if he's good enough to give it a go, you absolutely do that. But if you think he's not going to be himself out there, then of course you have to think about what's ahead in the coming weeks with the playoffs, whether that be 7 days from after Saturday's game, whether that be 8 days, 9 days, or whether you get the extra week. I think you have to have all of that in mind. There's no question.
This is not a playoff game. It feels like it is, but it's not a playoff game. This is not a win or in scenario. They have already clinched a playoff spot, and this is all about seeding. And yes, home field advantage would be crucial for their success going forward. Absolutely. Given all of their injuries on defense, it'd be nice to sleep in their own beds and not have to travel their entire postseason run. But it's not vital in order to sacrifice Trent Williams. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I could be totally wrong on this. Trent Williams was not 100%. I think he was injured in that playoff game against the Green Bay Packers years ago, 2021, and he was 50% in that NFC Championship game, and he wasn't his best. And that's where you push Trent Williams to play. I don't think you push him to play in this game. And Trent, he's a savvy vet. He's been playing the league since, God, how long? Since 2012? So he
2010.
knows 2010, yeah. So I would say he knows his body, and he knows, as my dad says all the time, this is nut cutting time. This is the vital point in the season where you need to play. You need to get ready for the postseason. But if he's not good to go, like you said, Greg, it's a hamstring. It's not broken ribs. Not something that if you play, you're not going to cause any more harm. You could definitely pop this hamstring even more. So I wouldn't risk it. And I think that's going to be Trent Williams' final call on this one. Also, the team physicians will tell him what to do. But I think, to me, it's not the end-all, be-all if Trent Williams does not play. I still think there is a bunch of keys to success for the 49ers to win this game. But I don't think they need to push Trent Williams in order to win this game to get home field advantage.
Well, as one thing that gives me a little bit of pause ahead of this game, whether it is a diminished version of Trent Williams or Austin Pleasance filling in at left tackle, Mike Macdonald is really, really good at exploiting weaknesses on the opposing offensive line. That has been his calling card for this entirety of the season. And I know Seattle's defense is really good on all three levels. Ernest Jones has been spectacular at linebacker.
Yep.
Nick Emenwari, the rookie that we watched at the NFL Combine, that guy had some physical traits and some speed that I thought, hey, whoever ends up with that guy, probably going to be in a pretty good situation. Then he goes to Seattle. That was a match made in heaven right there. But exploiting weaknesses on the offensive line is what Mike Macdonald has been doing the entirety of the season. And we're going to get into Seattle a little bit more today and, of course, on Friday. But Seattle's a team that we look at the elite units of their team. Their special teams has been spectacular. Their defense has been spectacular. It's the offense that's more inconsistent. For the 49ers, it's kind of reverse. You mirror that. Special teams has also been great, contrary to everything you would have believed after 2024. The offense is completely rolling right now. They are a juggernaut. They are on fire. Brock Purdy is playing as well as we have ever seen him play. But the defense, with the youth and the injuries, there's some sheer question marks right there. So it's going to be wet and rainy conditions at Levi Stadium. I'm very curious to see how that affects the pace of the game, how that affects both quarterback plays, who ends up looking a little bit more uncomfortable. But Trent Williams being out there is going to be a big part of whether or not Brock Purdy can be made uncomfortable. Because, again, credit to Austin Pleasance and the way he filled in for that last game on the fly. Brock was spectacular, but when Brock has had time since he's come back from injury, he's been sensational. If he can be made uncomfortable, all of a sudden that margin for error that's already razor thin makes you very, very nervous as a 49er fan. So we talked about the offensive line. I also want to highlight what the best available defensive player has been saying. Diamador Lenore wants to be shadowing Jackson Smith and Jigba, offensive player of the year candidate for this game. Kyle Shanahan spoke on that as well. Didn't go as far as to say it's going to happen. But let's talk about that and what it means when we come on back. And is Silver and Depop in for Murph and Marcus. 808 KNBR is your number on the Sports Leader.
Now back to Murph and Marcus on The Sports Leader. Streaming live on thesportsleader.com and KNBR. The Sports Leader app. Murph and Marcus is sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly.
Horton wide to the right side. Play fake. Darnold has time. Gonna let it fly. JSN is out there. JSN has it. Touchdown! Seahawks! A spike in the end zone and a 61-yard rocket to number 11. JSN puts 6 more on the board for the Hawks.
Man, I got to say, unfortunately for the 49ers, Derek, when you just look back at the offseason that was had, remember how Philadelphia, when they won the Super Bowl, we thought about the offseason that they had, getting Saquon Barkley, the players they drafted. It was like Howie Roseman's finest work. And they ended up hoisting the Lombardi. I don't know if that's going to happen with Seattle, but the offseason that they had to make the switch from Geno Smith to Sam Darnold, to move on from DK Metcalf and believe that JSN could be the number 1 receiver. I mean, man, they have pushed a lot of the right buttons, and that's the reason where a win or a tie for Seattle gets them to that number 1 seed and home field advantage.
Yeah, man, it's them being aggressive as they usually are, and to change their entire offense. Mike McDonald didn't like what he had. I think it was, Ryan Grubb was his offensive coordinator that came over from Washington. And Geno Smith, I'm seeing it right now with the Raiders, leading the league in interceptions, just not a good fit with him. They got rid of him. They bring in Clint Kubiak. They also signed Cooper Kupp, longtime Ram from the Seattle area. So, yeah, the offense is humming right now. And, of course, the biggest question mark will always be Sam Darnold, whether or not he's going to be clutch in these, these postseason moments. But there's no question about Jackson Smith-Njigba. He is, in my opinion, right now the best wide receiver in football. And there might be more talented wide receivers. I would take Jamar Chase or
Justin Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson over him. But he's just having, a great season right now. He's uncoverable. I believe he's only been held to under 50 yards one time this season. I think it was once against the Minnesota Vikings where he caught like 2 catches for 23 yards. Besides that, he's been dominant. And there was a long time there where we thought, he was on pace to break Calvin Johnson's single season receiving record back in 2012. So that's out of the question right now. But yeah, he's going to be first team All-Pro when it comes to wide receiver. And I don't think it's wise for Diamador Lenore to give him some bulletin board material.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get into that. So Jackson Smith-Njigba has been held under 90 yards only three times this year. He has played all 16 games, like we just mentioned with McCaffrey and Trent Williams. He has been targeted 150 times, 113 catches, 1,709 receiving yards for a franchise record.
Ooh.
10 touchdowns. You heard the 61-yarder right there coming in. But now we got Diamador Lenore saying he is ready for the challenge and wants to shadow him man-to-man. Demo, tell me how you're feeling.
Hopefully I get to, shadow JSN. I'm ready for this. I hope he's ready.
Anything you'd rather have? Anybody you'd rather have on the other side?
Man-to-man coverage, me and him. That's what I want. Me and him.
It's a little bit of muddy locker room audio right there, but essentially he said, I'm ready for this. I hope he's ready. Man-to-man coverage, me and him. That's what I want. So, Derek, you said bulletin board material. I got to say, I don't consider this necessarily trash talk as far as NFL goes, as far as a cornerback goes, particularly with that position that likes to talk a lot and the personality of Diamador Lenore. But tell me why you don't like that, because I'm kind of on the other side here.
Well, first and foremost, let me just say that you can hear a lot in the background of that cut. But anyway, as far as JSN against Diamador Lenore, was he asked that question by anybody, or he brought that up on his own? He brought that up on his own, right? That he wanted him? He wants that smoke?
Honestly, yeah, I think he did. He did bring it up on his own.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the part where I'm like, ugh. And Kyle Shanahan was asked about it, and he liked it too. He likes a guy that doesn't back down from a challenge. I totally respect that, 100%. But also Kyle acknowledged, we're going to do what's best for the team. And I asked Tim Ryan multiple times this season, so what's the matchup this week against this wide receiver? Is it going to be Demo? Is it going to be Renardo Green? And he's like, they don't play that way, D-Pop. They always have different coverages. They have different men on different wide receivers. So they don't play that way. I don't think anything's going to change this week. I know that, Demo is going to, advocate for one-on-one coverage with this season's best wide receiver, but I don't think Robert Saleh is going to change his scheme up just for this matchup because he wants that smoke. Here's my thing. Everybody gets motivated by little things. Like, did you see a couple weeks ago? I thought this was really stupid. Sean Payton of the Denver Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
He said that when matching up with the Jacksonville Jaguars, that they're a good team, but they're a small market team, and that's factual. That is 100% factual. They are not a big market. That game between two playoff teams was on Fox. CBS was like, no, thank you. We don't need that game. And Liam Cohen took that as disrespect. Liam Cohen gets offended by a lot of things.
I was going to say, I mean, come on, we got a history here.
Yeah, exactly. But Liam Cohen acknowledged it in the post-game interview, being like, not bad for a small market team, which, come on now. That's not real bulletin board material. And I agree with you. Diamador Lenore, being a cornerback, is, he's going to be braggadocious. He's going to say, I want that wide receiver. So I don't think this is crazy for him to do, but I think JSN's got to look at this being like, all right, the last time we played, I had 9 catches for 124 yards. You couldn't stop me. So go ahead, talk all that trash you want, and no one stopped me for the most part this season. So that's the part where I'm like, ugh. I mean, I get it. You just better back it up, man, because this defense has not backed it up for the majority of the season. If they shut him down, kudos to Demo. And I'm not faulting him for doing this, but I will also say I don't think they need this. Demo's a great cornerback, but is he one of the best in all of football? No. I think he's had a pretty good season, but when you look at the other cornerbacks in football, does Sauce Gardner, does Patrick Surtain, does Derek Stingley bring this stuff up unprompted? And those guys shut down opposing wide receivers. So if Demo comes out and backs it up and he holds JSN to 3 catches, 45 yards, then by all means, man, kudos to you for backing it up. But if he goes off, if he goes for like 10 catches, 115 yards and a touchdown, then it was all for naught.
All right, here's where I'm at. There was a lot of Twitter rage on Sunday night with the 49ers defense about how they didn't have a pass rush and they needed to pay somebody on that defense. They did pay somebody. They paid 3 somebodies. They paid Fred Warner. they paid Nick Bosa, and they paid Diamador Lenore. We've said a million times now, Nick Bosa's out for the year. Fred Warner is out and maybe could make some kind of miraculous return in the postseason. But as far as we're concerned this weekend, they haven't had him for the large chunk of the season. That leaves number 3, Diamador Lenore. This is the biggest game of the year. Your defense just got carved up for a half by Phillip Rivers, who came out of retirement. Your defense just went against Caleb Williams, who was the number 1 pick for a reason, but just had his best game as a pro. This is the biggest game of the year. Act like it. Be a leader. Be the guy with swag. Be yourself, Diamador Lenore. And I think that's exactly what he's doing in this. So I get what you're saying, Derek, about he brought this up unprompted. It's not something that a lot of the elite corners will do on a weekly basis. But this is the brawl for it all. Winner gets the number 1 seed. And Diamador Lenore, to his credit, if he doesn't make that tackle on the hook and ladder, we're probably not talking about this scenario being what it is, because he's stepped up in the biggest of moments, and I get it. He has not been perfect this year, and there were times where I thought for the money he's making and for the guys that are down, he's got to play better. But for somebody like Jackson Smith and Jigba, I'm not saying Kyle Shanahan is ultimately going to do this, and we'll play that cut coming up for you in a bit. It doesn't sound like that's going to happen, where Diamador Lenore is just going to shadow him for the entire game. But you got nothing to lose as far as I'm concerned. I know the number 1 seed's at stake. I know you're the home team. But if you can make Sam Darnold uncomfortable, and if you could shut down JSN, who has been on fire this year, and you can ultimately back that up, give your defense some swag. Because Tim Ryan has talked about it with us time and time again this year. If you are a step slow mentally, you're 2 steps slow physically. And this defense has had a lot thrown on their plate. So Diamador Lenore kind of has to be that leader, I should say. And look, by making this kind of comment, I understand that it's not something you would want to do unprompted all of the time. But with the stakes what they are on Saturday night, give the defense that is having to learn a lot of lessons and suffer through some growing pains in real time, give them some swag, give them some confidence, and show them that you can be the guy that's willing to take on the biggest challenge when the lights get the brightest. Because, look, a lot of these sophomores in the rookie class for the 49ers, I want to talk about this with John Lynch at 8 o'clock. They have not played playoff football before. So, yes, this is not a playoff game, as we got into the discussion with Trent Williams. But as far as the younger players on this team and as far as the leaders on this team, carry yourself like it's a playoff game. I got no issue with Demo.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you. When you do something like this, you build up the confidence of the defense, where Demo's putting himself out there, alone, basically saying, like, I'm going to step up this week. I need to step up this week, and I want man-to-man coverage on JSN. Now, what are you going to do, Bryce Huff? What are you going to do, Tatum Bethune? He's not saying that stuff, but I guess that's kind of what he's implying as well, where he's taking the onus upon himself without Nick Bosa, without Fred Warner, to be that leader out there. So I give him credit for that one. But I don't know. When it's a matchup like this, I just hate outside noise. I hate, sound bites like this. But then again, it could rile a team up. I love the history of the NFL, so I go to examples like back in the day when the Niners were playing the Cowboys, the NFC Championship game, and Jimmy Johnson's listening to local sports talk radio, and he's listening about how the Cowboys going to win this game, and he calls in and be like, "We're going to win the game. You can put it in bold fonts. We're going to win the game." If you're that cocky and you're that arrogant, you can back it up by all means, and that led them to a victory. On the flip side, I remember back in the day when the undefeated Patriots were playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, and a cornerback for them, I think it was Brian McFadden, called out the Patriots saying, we're going to beat them. And they went after his ass and torched him the entire game to prove a point that you shouldn't give us bulletin board material. You need to shut up during the week. So, look, it depends on how you feel about this. If Demo goes out and has a great performance against JSN, then, dude, props to you, man, for getting your money and being a true leader on this team and coming up big in the biggest moment of the season. But if he torches you like he's done for a lot of the season against really good defensive backs, then what's your confidence level going into the season or the postseason at this point? When you put yourself out there like that, and then when you have to go into the postseason and play maybe A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, are you going to say this every single week? That's where it gets old to me. But
you don't have to. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to say it every single week. If you get torched by JSN and then you're going to go face A.J. Brown and you're going to be throwing around trash talk right then, I might be like, all right, dude, let's chill out a little bit. But I'm only concerned about the short term of the next 3 days and nothing beyond that. Like, everything next week, whether you get the number 1 seed or whether you're going on the road for a wild card game, it's a clean slate as far as I'm concerned there. 408 on the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line says this is 100% bulletin board material. So agreeing with you, Derek, these guys are highly competitive, and anything and everything they can do to hype themselves up just a little bit more than the guy across from them. Use everything, I should say. That said, I like it, and I don't at the same time back it up. 925 says Demo is the best corner they have. Why not put him on him? And 707, they should change their concepts because they've been getting shredded with what they have been doing. Let's hear from Kyle Shanahan about Diamador Lenore and his thoughts on the possibility of maybe using him to shadow JSN in this game.
I mean, I know Dima well enough to know that's what he wants every week. So him lobbying for it really hard just makes me like him more. But it would have to do with what was the best for our team and schematically what we're going to do.
All right, so again, keeping it pretty open-ended, didn't go as far as saying, yeah, we're going to do that. But to my point, this is who Diamador Lenore is. It wasn't Renardo Green or Daryl Luter speaking out and saying, I'm going to shut down JSN. I'd be like, whoa, that's number one, no, you won't. And number two, that's not your personality. This is no big surprise for me with Demo. And as far as could this backfire if JSN has a big game, I mean, sure, it'll be considered a backfire in national media circles and how we talk about it on the radio. But look, Derek, I mean, JSN's been torching everybody all year long. So as far as being concerned about the playoffs and everything you were bringing up from beyond, it's not a big deal to me. Either you don't play the Seahawks again and you don't have to worry about it, or you do play them again and you better back it up the second time if you're going to put this out there the first time. And I know he's got the confidence to do just that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to fault him for the confidence. You have to have confidence in yourself, and I think that that's what Kyle Shanahan likes, where he's like, okay, he's not backing down from a challenge. I like that. But I don't want also Diamador Lenore to be known as the corner that just talks a bunch of trash and can't back it up. So, by all means, he's a really good player, but he hasn't been the shutdown corner that, you know, I brought up earlier, like the Sting Lees, the Sauce Gardners, the Patrick Surtains, and I think those guys can back up their trash talk. Lenore still needs to prove himself a little bit. Even though he's the best defensive player on their team right now, I think that, you know, it could backfire here. But they have history, huh? They go back and forth with each other on social media. He's always calling them out, right? I've seen that before with Diamador Lenore. So maybe there's a personal thing with JSN. Maybe he just likes having fun with him, and he just likes, you know, he likes the challenge. I totally understand that, but I think about how Seattle's going to use him. We're not talking about, you know, some scrub here. We're not talking about, you know, Torrey Horton or another wide receiver on this, you know, Seattle Seahawks team. And by the way, I think Rashid Shaheed has concussion.
He does.
So I don't know if he's going to be healthy for this game too. So if they can find a way, I mean, a lot of teams have been doubling JSN, but they still can't, you know, hold him. So I would say, let's see what happens here. Obviously, you know, let's see if Diamador Lenore can back up his trash talk, but JSN and the Seattle Seahawks offenses are definitely going to use this as bulletin board material, 100%.
All right, well, we're going to be monitoring that one way or another because JSN has been a problem for his entirety of his career against the 49ers, and that includes when DK Metcalf was there. That includes different iterations of coaching staffs and coordinators, and, man, it doesn't get any bigger than this. Dominic Puny is going to be playing his first playoff game coming up as the second-year starting right guard. We had him on yesterday, and like I said, we're incorporating elements of every show here in the Murph and Marcus Modified Edition to close out 2025. So when we come on back, let's have your replay from Dominic Puny. If you already caught it on our podcast page, hey, that's awesome. Why not listen to it again? Maybe there's another nugget in there that you missed. We'll talk about that next and hear from Dom Puny on the Sports Leader.
Time for traffic on the Sports Leader. It's time for KNBR's Opening Bell Report. Sponsored by Protect Your Assets with David Hollander. Concerned inflation will ruin your dream retirement? Learn more. Listen to David's show every Saturday morning or call 1-866-PROTECT. Listen to the sports leader anytime, anywhere. Download KNBR, the sports leader app. Murph and Marcus continue live from the Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix. Progressive jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Every week we give you your 49er player of the week, and after the thrilling Sunday night victory 42-38 over the Chicago Bears, we had the chance to talk to Dominic Puny yesterday, so let's go ahead, recap that conversation, and hear from the man himself. Dom Puny, take it away.
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me. I'm looking forward to talking to y'all.
Hey, it's fun. It's fun for us to have you on, man, and I just want to start with looking at the big picture, because I think that even the most optimistic 49er fans would have been pleasantly surprised at the fact that with all that's happened leading up to this season and then some of the injuries, that you have a chance to play for the number one seed here at home. And in a division that is the toughest in football, that is no short of an accomplishment right there. So just let's go back to one of the moments when it looked like it was going to be really tough for this team to continue competing at a high level, and that was losing Fred Warner in Tampa Bay. Just take us through that moment, that day, the message when he went down, and how this team has moved forward in such a resilient manner.
Man, Tampa was a tough day because it didn't seem like we were hitting on all cylinders, and I think we lost Fred in the first or second quarter. And that's one of our leaders, and the leader of the defense. So that was a tough day. We lost, obviously. It was just a bad day for just for our team in general. But he had a strong message for us right after the game. He got to the middle of the locker room on his crutches and just gave a super powerful message, and we bounced back after that. And I think the resiliency of this team has been really cool, because I think last year we kind of got used to, we were kind of shocked by how many injuries we had, but this year we got hurt, but I think we're just kind of used to it. We're like, all right, we're not going to make any excuses. Let's just next man up, and let's just go let it ride.
Looks like Derek's microphone is down for the moment, so let me get you another one, Dom. So I want to ask you about something personally that was a challenge. I mean, not having a normal preseason and start to the season. We remember in Las Vegas when everyone's getting their reps and you had that PCL injury to where you were able to come back for the season opener. But I imagine that when you're going through training camp preseason, trying to get your body in shape, get rhythm, go into year two with a different kind of strength and rhythm to all of it. How was that for you to not have that normal preseason with the PCL interruption and then bounce back from that, but have to bounce back from it in real time in games that counted for a lot?
It was tough. I think I missed the last 2.5 weeks of training camp, which it can kind of mess your rhythm up a little bit. But I was blessed enough to be able to come back, and the trainers did a great job getting me back, and I was ready to play in Seattle for week 1, and we got the win. Obviously I felt good enough to play, so I was out there and just trying to ride with the team, and it was a little tough because that was my first kind of big injury while in the NFL. But all glory to God. Like, he got me back in time, he healed me, and I was able to play week 1. But I've just been getting better and better every week, so I feel good.
Talking to Dom Puny, your 49er player of the week, as they get ready for the massive showdown Saturday night at Levi Stadium, 5 o'clock against the Seattle Seahawks. What's it like being in the huddle with Brock Purdy? I think the way he's been on a heater, we're finally starting to see a greater appreciation from outside the Bay Area of just how well he has commanded this offense. But take us through the inside of it and what it's like on a day-to-day, whether it be in practice, whether it be throwing a pick 6 on the first play and having to bounce back from there to put up 42 points. Who is QB1 Brock Purdy?
Man, he's unbelievable. And I'm so blessed to have a quarterback like him he's just so unwavering in everything he does. You know, you start the game off with a pick six. We go back to the sideline, and nothing changes in any of his mannerisms or the way he leads us. He just tells us, "Hey, let's go back out there. Let's just go march it down and act like nothing happened." And that's exactly what we did. When he commands the huddle, he comes in and he's always the same guy. He's never panicked. He's never like not there. He's always in the moment, making sure we're good. He always matches the vibe that needs to be had, and it's just a blessing to be able to play with him.
I mean, we saw you dance with Purdy when he was doing the Dougie after the schoolyard touchdown to Juice. So what's been more impressive to you, Dominic? His dancing skills or the custom Rolexes that he got you guys for Christmas?
I would say the dancing skills. The Rolexes are really cool though. I was so surprised when he got us those, but I don't know, something about just seeing him hit the Dougie is just it's very funny and refreshing. It's just he can really hit it, so I mean it's cool to see.
No, definitely. And you talked earlier about the resiliency you guys have played with this whole season. You guys came to the game last Sunday night without George Kittle, and then Trent Williams goes down the first play from scrimmage. So how great was it to see Austin Pleasance and Jake Tonjes step up in that victory?
Man, it was huge to see. Well, first I saw Tonjes. I mean, it's nothing new. George went down for a few weeks in the middle of the season or beginning, and we saw what Tonjes could do. So, I mean, nobody really kind of blinked an eye. And, I mean, obviously we can't wait to have George back. He's, I think, the best tight end in the league. So, but to have Tonjes as a backup is a blessing because, you know, he's a hell of a playmaker too. And Austin Pleasance, man, I'm so happy for him because he had a great training camp. And, you know, he's just been waiting for his opportunity. And, you know, it sucked to lose Trent play one out of all plays. But Austin, he didn't blink an eye. He stepped up. And he just really did. He's been doing what he's been doing all year. But to see him do it on the big stage on Sunday night was really cool to see that. I'm so happy for him.
Dom, I know you're only in your second season, but you were put in a unique situation where you ended up starting every single game last year out of necessity and then doing a great job filling in. So when it's Spencer Burford filling in for Ben Barch at left guard, when it's Austin Pleasance filling in at left tackle, do you take that opportunity to give advice to anyone of what it's like to be in that position? Or do you feel like you're all just one unit, that you're all a close family and it doesn't necessarily have anything that needs to be said?
It's hard for me to be the guy to say something. I'm the youngest guy, experience-wise, on the O-line, so I don't really know how much I could tell them. But I kind of leave it to, Trent, Cole, and Jake. You know, they're more the leaders of the O-line, so if anyone's going to tell, like, Spencer or Austin anything, it would have to be them. But, you know, I just try to be a good teammate and be there with them and just, like, you know, give him a little fist bump right before we take the field, and just a little hype speech. But as far as, like, leadership goes, I kind of leave it to the older guys.
Talking to Dominic Puny on the UMA guest line. A big matchup on Saturday night for the division and the number 1 seed. And so much has gone on since you guys faced off the Seahawks in week 1. You were coming off an injury that you sustained during training camp. Does it feel almost like another season ago since you played Seattle? And how difficult is it to go up against their defensive line with Leonard Williams?
It does feel like a really long time ago. Like the season has gone by really fast, but I just remember being week 1 on the bench before the first drive. Like, I just couldn't believe I was starting my second year. And yeah, they have a great defense in general that starts with the D-line. They're very physical, very sound, very talented. What they do, run and pass, they're not only good on one side. They do run and pass very well. But you know, it was a great challenge week 1. It'll be a great challenge again this week.
Dom, back in training camp when I talked to you in the toddler room and we were asking about everything looking ahead to season 2, I think we got into who you were looking forward to facing the most. And you essentially said everybody in the division that you're going to get to see twice. So with this second meeting feeling like a lifetime ago against the Seahawks, not being at your healthiest the first time around, coming off that injury we mentioned a little bit earlier, what are you looking forward to the most about this challenge on Saturday night?
They're just competing for the 1 seed. Like, it's an honor. It's obviously, you know, I don't know how many times you're going to get to do this in your career with a divisional opponent, battling for the conference 1 seed. And we're just looking forward to the challenge and this. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better ending to a season or ending to a regular season because on prime time you get to go against your divisional opponent and there's just a lot riding on it. And it'll be a fun atmosphere in Levi, and we're just super excited for it.
The running game had its struggles, earlier in the season prior to Brock's return, and then McCaffrey has had back-to-back 100-yard rushing performances. So what do you think has been the biggest key in the improved running game?
Just rhythm and just, getting more reps with each other and just getting the timing down. And, I think the run game is something that you just get better and better with over time. And, especially the way we do it. There's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of people in motion. And I think the more you just keep getting it down and getting the feel for who you're playing next to, and Christian just kind of seeing how the O-line and the tight ends and the receivers are going to do their thing, it just kind of opens up as the season goes on. And I just think it's more of a rhythm thing.
So we were talking to Matt Mayoko a little bit earlier, and he deemed this the most important regular season game at Levi Stadium in 49er history. How much has the 49er faithful helped throughout the season, not just at home, but also with the way they've traveled on the road?
Man, it's actually been crazy. We were in New York, across the country, and it's like a home game. I was so shocked, man. We have the best fan base, in the world, and the way they travel is just so crazy. And at home games, Sunday night, it was rocking, man. It was so loud, and it just gives us such a home field advantage. But I think I've heard, other quarterbacks at away teams say that they've never experienced a home game like that for them, where our crowd was louder than them. So I mean, it's so cool. I couldn't imagine feeling like an away game while at home for other teams. So I mean, they do their thing, they pop out, and I love them.
You mentioned playing with Brock earlier, and right now I think he's playing his best football. His mobility, his decisiveness with the football getting out so quickly. How does the way his play impact you as a pass blocker?
It's huge. I always say playing with Brock is very cool because he's always on rhythm and on timing, and when the play's not there, he's able to create with his feet. And if one of the O-linemen get beat quick up front, he's able to get out of it, get us out of a bad situation and make us look a little better. He's the man. And obviously he's showing everybody what he can do with his feet. A couple of plays he made Sunday. It's just so fun to play with him, and I think he's just going to continuing to get better.
Just to wrap it up, Dom, I want to circle back to the conversation we had before training camp when we got into a lot of the lessons you learned here in your first year in the NFL. Year two has been entirely different in so many ways, whether it be personally and some of the things you've had to navigate through health-wise and also just team performance, overcoming adversity, stacking wins, and you're going to play your first playoff game coming up in either the next week or the one after that. So what's your biggest lesson learned for you personally as an NFL player in year two?
I would say the biggest lesson I've learned is no matter what happens, just continue to keep your head down and trust the process, continue to get better, trust your routine throughout the week, make sure you have a good routine throughout the week, take care of your body. I just gave a few things there, but man, just keep your head down and trust in the process, make sure you get better every week. Just make sure you keep learning, and that's probably been the biggest thing for me is just being able to keep learning and asking my vets questions, and they've been so helpful. Sorry, I gave you a few things, but those have been the lessons.
No, the more the merrier. And honestly, Dom, I think that not just for football, but those are lessons that should be applied to just about anybody, regardless of what they're doing in life. It's just the basic principles of attitude and effort, things you can control, keeping your head down, like you mentioned, trusting the process, and having a good routine that you can trust along with that. So I know it's a short week. Again, we really appreciate your time. Congratulations on the win on Sunday night, but I know all eyes turn to Saturday on this short week, so we'll let you get to it, and looking forward to being out there on Saturday.
Thank you, Dom.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you having me.
All right, that was Dominic Puny, and a big message to the faithful on showing up this Saturday with just how much the support has meant to him. Coming up in a bit, Who cares about power rankings? Well, let's start opening up that can of worms. It's Silver, it's Depop, in for Murph and Marcus on the Sports Leader.
Time for traffic on the Sports Leader.
And now it's time for the Protect Your Assets Business and Technology Report with me, David Hollander.
Now back to Murph and Marcus on The Sports Leader. Streaming live on thesportsleader.com and KNBR. The Sports Leader app. Murph and Marcus is sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly.
They're at the Bears' 38-yard line, second down. Purdy drops back. Purdy steps up. Purdy throws middle. There's Jennings. He's got it. Inside the 20, the 10. He's gone. Touchdown. 49ers back in front.
Vibrato, Guy Haberman. He is gone. And that was the winner on Sunday night. Jawan Jennings with 2:15 to go in the game ended up being the difference. 42-38 your final, and now we are talking all things Seahawks. It's been fun after the Niners had a game like that, Derek, to hear the wide scope of national media take their narratives and run with it. You get Nick Wright saying, you know, this is more of a Kyle Shanahan and Christian McCaffrey story than it is a Brock Purdy story. Then you have people that have been a little bit nicer to Brock Purdy and the 49ers, like a Rich Eisen. And speaking of Rich, he just released some power rankings yesterday. I don't know where you stand on the power rankings, because I do feel like, being a papa, it's the type of thing you would just kind of toss to the side as garbage. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, in my curmudgeon ways, yes. I'm not really a big power rankings guy. Look, I love me some Rich Eisen. I go way back in the day of the birth of NFL Network and him being the face of it, and got to meet him a couple times. My pops was doing some stuff at NFL Network. Great guy. Counted him a little bit at NFL Network when I worked there. But I will say, I watch his show periodically. I catch some clips. In the offseason, I watch it just as far as clips, like all the time when I want to hear what's going on in free agency with Tom Pelissero. But as far as power rankings, I care as much as like Stephen A. Smith giving his power rankings about his top NFL teams. If you give me, like, no offense to Rich, but Rich is, you know, he reacts to the games. He's kind of a hype beast. He reacts to the teams in the moment. And as far as like X's and O's, if you told me that Daniel Jeremiah had the 49ers at his top 10 list, number one, then I'd be like, interesting. Or if Greg Cosell had the 49ers at his top 10 list at number one, I'd be like, oh, interessante. But I do respect Rich Eisen when it comes to power rankings. He does this all the time, like power rankings, what's the biggest storyline in the NFL offseason, what this and that. And I think he even kind of scoffs at it. But whatever, it's sports talk radio, so let's react, Greg.
Well, let's hear from Rich Eisen on his power rankings, and I love the nice use of interessante right there. So you're not one for Steven's A list, as they call it? Yeah, me neither. Rich Eisen. Really. Gave us top 5 teams yesterday on his show, but the number one spot belonged to the San Francisco 49ers. Here's why.
What the Niners have done to put themselves in position, I think they win this game against the Seattle Seahawks, and I do think they get a week off. And I do think that means they're one playoff game away from maybe getting Fred Warner back. I really believe that this team is going to go into the divisional round with everybody who's been banged up back healthy. I am concerned about Trent Williams getting that hamstring injury, and will that be able to be overcome against the Seahawks team that can make this buffet I've just laid out for you completely wrecked? Could Seattle be the 1 seed going in? Absolutely. Absolutely. These teams aren't very far apart in my power rankings right now. But the way the Niners are playing on offense, with Purdy looking the way that he looks and McCaffrey looking the way that he looks, and Kittle coming back healthy for a playoff game, and for Pearsall to damn near have 100 receiving yards in this Sunday night win over the Bears. And I couldn't be more impressed. Don't sleep on Shanahan for Coach of the Year, certainly if they're the 1 seed.
Thank you, Richard. I've been preaching that since Monday. If they win this game, there is no way you can even rationalize Mike Vrabel and Ben Johnson turn around the culture of their team. It's like, dude, they're the number 1 seed, okay? You got to give it to them. But
should we have that conversation? Because I think you can, but yes, Kyle Shanahan's more than deserving of Coach of the Year. But your dad was talking about it with us yesterday. I do think that the favoritism of, the East Coast bias, New England, Chicago, I do think it's going to go to Vrabel or Ben Johnson in the end. I do.
I think it's probably going to go to Mike Vrabel. That would be my guess. The Bears can't get the number 1 seed. The Patriots, and to be fair, this is nothing to do with Kyle Shanahan and the year he's had.
Of course not.
The Patriots were god-awful last year. They were a horrendous football team. And so not only to turn it around, but to triple their win total immediately and take the division back from Buffalo and the reigning MVP, Josh Allen, that's been impressive, to say the least. I'm not taking anything away, but look, Kyle Shanahan has been here for 9 years now. He's never won the award. I think this is his best job start to finish, and the finish is going to happen on Saturday night, and the how of this matters. So with what Rich Eisen was saying, I'm with you, Derek, where power rankings, I'm like, whatever. Whether it's Steven's A-list or the herd hierarchy, which I actually do kind of like the herd hierarchy from Colin Cowherd, just because he always goes,
I love alliteration.
He goes, these are not the standings. This is if you played today on a neutral field, and he's got to give the lecture every time.
Okay.
The power rankings part of it and the 49ers being number 1, I'm kind of like whatever to it. Now, the very real part of this, though, is that they are a red-hot football team. And when you have clinched a playoff spot and when you are going to be playing beyond the first weekend of January, being a hot football team matters a lot. I'm a big believer in the Houston Texans on the AFC side of the bracket because that defense has been relentless. By the way, did you see the Jalen Petrie quote after the game when they beat the Chargers? He said,
"No, I didn't.
God is the greatest, but the Texans defense is probably second."
That's not bad.
It's not
I
bad.
kind of agree with that right now.
They're incredible. And the other great defense in Seattle, the 49ers got to deal with. So the how in this game is going to matter to me. Yes, the result, of course, holds a lot of weight. We know that. I also think that the how is very close to just as important. If you lose this game 35-10 and your offense has nothing and your defense gets carved up, that's going to cause some concern going into the postseason. If you lose it on a last-second field goal or one play making the difference, it's a bummer that you have to go on the road and be a wild card team, but it doesn't make me doubt the 49ers necessarily any more than I would have. And if you win the game, if you win ugly, at least you get the week to rest. And if you win in a blowout fashion, then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, maybe we are not taking this team quite as seriously enough. So I do think the how is going to hold a lot of weight. But as far as the power rankings element of it, Derek, it's the fact that the 49ers, since Brock Purdy has come back, they are 6-0. He is playing as well as he's ever have. And the coach-quarterback combination right there, stack it up with anybody else in the National Football League right now. Can you name one that's playing that's in as great of a lockstep as Shanahan Purdy? I don't think so in the last month and a half.
Absolutely not. No. If you're going by the coach and quarterback combination, you have to go Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. And then after that, I know they've been a little cold of late, but I would go with McVay and Stafford, Josh Allen, and Sean McDermott. I really don't know what to make of him sometimes. I don't know if he's a great coach. I think he's good because he gets the Bills in these situations. They're always a playoff team. But to take that next step, I do wonder about him. But yeah, like if we're talking about power rankings and the hottest team right now, no question it's the 49ers. But of the best teams in football, do you think that the Seahawks should be below the 49ers? Do you think the 49ers should be above the Seahawks? How would you rank those two teams right now, Greg?
Well, in the famous herd hierarchy, that was 1-2. It was Seattle number 1, San Francisco number 2. I don't really know, to be honest, Derek. I mean, I think that if I'm looking at it from who I would see as a less flawed team as a whole, probably Seattle by a little bit, given that they are healthier. That said, do I trust the quarterback of San Francisco more? Yes. Do I trust the head coach more? yes, even though Mike McDonald has certainly done a fantastic job, and you're freaking me out because you're frozen on the screen. So I feel like
I know
the face you were giving me, I was like, dude, what am I saying that's so bad?
I just have a pensive look on my face, like I'm coming up with something really good right now.
I probably would give Seattle the edge on paper going into this game. I would not be shocked if the 49ers win it, but I got to be fair with what we've seen out of the defense, and they've adjusted well, and Robert Saleh has been the master of finding ways to bend, not break when everything is on the line, like he was on Sunday night. But I just think that Seattle's offense, if they can run the ball a little bit more effectively than they have the second half of the year, if they can avoid turning it over, then that defense and special teams can put them in positions where they can win games. I guess what it comes down to is if the 49ers are going to win games, Brock Purdy has to play well. The Seahawks have ways of winning games where Sam Darnold doesn't have to play amazing. And by the way, I'd put Matthew Stafford in the Brock Purdy category where as much as the Rams look complete at times, if he struggles, I think they're in a tough position. Whereas I think the one thing I would give Seattle the edge on over a lot of these teams is if their quarterback has a B- or below game, they've still found ways to pull out the win.
Yeah, that's where if I was doing my own power rankings, I probably would go Seattle number 1 and the 49ers number 2, just because of the huge win they had a couple weeks ago against the LA Rams, come back in that game. But I'm with you. I'm still skeptical about Sam Darnold in the long run. And with the 49ers, yes, they've had 2 great back-to-back wins. I mean, however many they won in a row right now, it's been really impressive. But the last 2, to go into Indianapolis and to throttle that team, put up 48 points, and then to beat a playoff team, the Chicago Bears, really impressive. They are right now the best offense in all of football. But as far as a collective team, I'm still, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. I'm still skeptical about that defense. But you talked about the national narratives, Greg. You brought that one up. The Nick Wright take, he's saying that this is more a Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Shanahan product as opposed to what Brock Purdy's doing right now?
I believe the exact phrasing was a story, a Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Shanahan story over a Brock Purdy story. And if you want to look at the entirety of the season, I get it in the sense of Mac Jones stepped in and they found ways to win games with him, but that doesn't take away anything from what Brock Purdy has looked like over the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, I love when guys that are on TV or radio hosts sometimes how they craft their takes. And to me, it's just a little ridiculous. Like the story, how could you not acknowledge Brock Purdy in the story? You know, another ridiculous take I saw just today. This is courtesy of Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk, and he's talking to Chris Sims about Brock Purdy. And of course, once upon a time, Mike Florio famously said, "I don't know about Brock Purdy. His name's a little too close to Turdy." This is a quote from Brock. This is a quote from Mike Florio about Brock Purdy. One of the reasons that football became as popular as it did, it is a visual sport that thrives on TV. And as it relates to Brock Purdy, for whatever reason, and this is separate from the play, there's nothing about him that is sizzle or swag. Nothing. Not even when he does the dancing, it's kind of cute. He doesn't have that aura. I know 49er fans are going to be upset, but he's like Clark Kent, who when he becomes Superman, he's still Clark Kent. What the hell does that even mean? Why does it even matter? I know that Mike Florio kind of talks about the outside stuff when it comes to football. He doesn't really focus on the actual play. But this is the problem you get sometimes with the national media when you get the positive of Chris Collinsworth being like, "Oh, my God, Brock Purdy just had a Patrick Mahomes moment." And then you have Nick Wright and Mike Florio with their takes. So I know we're talking about power rankings. I know that it's good that the 49ers are a national story, but then you get some dumbass takes along with it, in my opinion.
Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous.
There you go. There's my show.
Nice. Doing a little dirty work here. John Lynch joining us in about a half an hour. It is Greg Silver, Derek Papa, Jacob Violante, John Joe Curley hanging out with you on the morning show. Murph and Marcus enjoying a little bit of holidays as we close out 2025 and welcome 2026 with open arms tomorrow. So the quote that I loved from Kyle Shanahan after that game on Sunday night is, "We earned it," as far as the opportunity to play for the number 1 seed, because there's something very liberating to me, Derek, about whatever happens on Saturday night, the 49ers will have earned their result. Now, I mean, if we're talking NFC Championship, Rams, Saints, and something crazy with a no call, sure. We've seen all sorts of things happen in the NFL. I won't mention the Tuck Rule game more than just that little mention right there. But for the most part, the 49ers are going to have earned their result. They have earned the right to play for the number 1 seed. And I think that whatever happens on the field, they're either going to get ready to go on the road to either Philadelphia, Chicago, Tampa Bay, or Carolina, or they're going to pull this thing off and it will be one of the great number 1 seed regular seasons that we've ever seen in recent NFL history.
Yeah, it would be unbelievable from where they were at the beginning of the season. I mean, think about when they played the Seattle Seahawks week 1 and how different of a team that is with Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. And now with all of the injuries they had, everything that they sustained, to be in this position, it would be remarkable. If for them to have home field advantage and to possibly host the Super Bowl, unbelievable. Now, again, do I feel as confident as I did in 2019? No. They had a powerful running game. They had the best pass rush in all of football. That translates to the postseason. In 2021, they were coming in hot, kind of like right now, where it wasn't really so much the offense. Debo was used as a wide back as a running back with all the injuries they sustained, but the defense was still humming. That's the reason why they won that game, and their special teams unit. That's why they won that game in the cold against the Green Bay Packers. 2022, the defense was lights out with Nick Bosa. They didn't have the 1 seed that year. They were the 2 seed. And then 2023, in my opinion, from start to finish, you could say the Eagles at certain times during the season when they had that 10-1 start, but we knew that was a fugazi. They were not that good that year. The 49ers, from the beginning of the regular season till the Super Bowl, in my opinion, were the best team in all of football. This is different where their offense is getting hot and the NFC is weak right now, so they're capitalizing on that to possibly get the 1 seed. But I know I'm kind of being a little negative Nancy sometimes when I talk about the 49ers. I get that. I know 49 fans want to tune into the flagship station and want to hear, overjoyed reaction. I'm just saying that you look at this team and you definitely see some flaws with the defense, 100%. I think everybody acknowledges that. But how could you not say if they get the 1 seed that they're not Super Bowl contenders? 100% they would be, because they have the offense to put up the points. It's just I need to see the defense play a little bit better. I need to see Bryce Huff get to the quarterback occasionally. I just need to see some third down stoppages that Kyle Shanahan's been longing for in these post-game press conferences.
Going into this weekend, I think they're Super Bowl contenders regardless. Now, again, the how of this game is going to matter. If it's a really ugly loss where they look completely overmatched, maybe it'll give me a little bit more pause. But look, the NFC across the board, there's a lot of weaknesses for all the strengths you can point to 1 through 7. I think the 49ers are absolutely in that Super Bowl contention conversation. Not to mention, it's a game that would be played at Levi Stadium on February the 8th. All right, cooler content.
Real quick, Greg.
Yeah.
Sorry, just real quick. I know we need to get to cooler content. Something that your pops brought up yesterday that intrigued me. You guys rank TVs going into TVs. You guys rank teams going into the postseason, correct? Is that's what you guys do? Your brother and you and your dad?
Yes, it's a 3-way snake draft.
So where do you have the 49ers in your draft? Or did someone take the 49ers?
I got the 49ers on the back end. I was the number 1 pick. I took the Rams because I like self-punishment. Then my brother was the middle pick. He took the Seahawks. I think my dad went Steelers, Texans, and I'm like, dude, get off the Steelers. And then I think my brother took the Patriots, so I said, cool, give me the Niners and the I took the Niners and the Eagles reluctantly, but I did have the Niners in my bubble.
Okay, well, there you go. Okay, so, yeah, I'm with you. Like, when it comes to power rankings, Niners wouldn't be at the top of the list, but they're definitely in top 5 conversation, absolutely.
Yeah, and look, last year we said there were probably about 5 teams realistically in the Super Bowl bubble. This year,
right.
I have no idea what to do. Cooler of content, and then John Lynch at 8 o'clock, all coming your way. 808 KNBR is your number. It's Silver and Depop in for Murph and Marcus on the Sports Leader.
All right, everyone, chill.
This is the cooler
He's bitten a cooler
of content.
Cornucopacious of joyful news.
We might be on to something.
Yeah, baby!
Murph and Marcus is sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly.
Yeah, it's the cooler of content. Silver and Depop in for Murph and Marcus. We're taking this for less than an hour. 8:30 is when we are off today. So John Lynch coming up in about 20 minutes. Stay tuned. We're going to pack it all in. And yesterday we had a lot of fun with our 90s music and those voices. I don't know what we're going to teach young Jacob and what he's going to learn today, but we got a little bit of time. And maybe the cut we have right here is going to be of some substance. This is from the Katie Nolan podcast.
Yes.
Who would have thought that anywhere outside the Bay Area would be making songs about the rookie defensive tackle, Alfred Collins? Well, just take a listen, and maybe you got a new holiday jingle for next time of year.
I love Brock Purdy. I just love him. His World War I face, his little.
He's such a boy.
I love Glock Purdy. Him and that tattered defense, anchored by Alfred Collins, eats a can of beans.
So this is a song that Dan wrote last night in front of my family, with my family. It was delightful. They delighted in this. No idea where it came from.
Yeah, it was that joint that I smoked at halftime, probably.
And he said, Alfred Collins eats a can of beans.
Yeah, it was when Alfred Collins got to stop. I love Alfred Collins.
What were the odds of all the 49ers draft picks that Alfred Collins would be the ones getting songs made about him on Christmas? I know he was a second-round pick, but he missed OTAs. He had the calf injury. Then, not to mention, there was all those second-round pick contract holdouts that went late into the season. And, you know, apologies if we're a little bit triggered by contract negotiations and holdouts here in the Bay Area. Turns out, though, Alfred Collins, man, whether it's blocking kicks, whether it's punching the ball out from Kyron Williams at the goal line, he's found a way to be involved in a lot of clutch plays. And George Kittle, remember a few weeks ago, he's like, I just want to say I love Alfred Collins, and then went on to praise him for about 25 seconds. This guy, your Texas Longhorn, has been making an impact and apparently eats cans of beans.
I love Alfred Collins.
He eats cans of beans. He eats cans of beans. He's a real man. So the backstory with this is Katie Nolan, she has this podcast. I'm not sure what the name of it is. But Dan Soder is her fiance or husband, and he's a comedian, hilarious guy. He's on the show Billions, I believe, and he is a diehard 49er fan. Actually, diehard KMBR guy. On his podcast, he references Ralph, he references Gary, he references Tom from back in the day. But he is a diehard 49er fan. You might remember you may have heard his voice before when it comes to the NFL Top 100. I believe he's the voiceover guy for that. But, yeah, he loves the 49ers, watches them every week. So I'm not surprised that he had praise for Alfred Collins and Brock Purdy in his World War I face, as he referenced.
One more time, the Alfred Collins song.
Alfred Collins eats a can of beans.
How much fun are we going to have with this if Collins is making some massive plays on Sunday? Because we got a lot of football left to be played, and this 2025 NFL season has shown that you don't really know what to expect. Alfred Collins has found a way to be involved in the most clutch plays. And I'll say it again, for all we can gripe about with the defense in the recent weeks, the defense was responsible for winning you the first 3 games single-handedly. And then the fourth win was Alfred Collins punching the ball out at the goal line. And then the big fourth down stop where Chase Lucas, of all people, was getting in to stop Kyron Williams on that run when the Niners had the 3-point lead. And so, again, Robert Saleh, he has not had the most to work with at various points of the year. It's hard to give younger players more and more on their plate when you sort of got to do it in phases. And I've gotten into the details with that with Tim Ryan as well. But you're trying to find the balance between making it complex and giving them what they can handle without just overwhelming them in a way where they're going to have no idea how to react mentally when they're out there. Because, again, if you're slightly behind mentally, then it's double that physically. And against a team like the Seattle Seahawks, I know their offense has not been the most impressive. For those 2 running backs that they have in Walker and Charbonnet, they should be running the ball better. It doesn't mean that in a wet and rainy game on Saturday night that they're incapable of running the ball well.
And that's the key, stopping the run. Alfred Collins, C.J. West, the 2 rookies in the interior of the defensive line, they need to make some big plays. And kudos to Alfred Collins, man, stepping up this year Where in preseason, C.J. West had a step on him.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about that during training camp, and yeah, man, he's made huge plays. That, of course, you're referencing the amazing game he had against the Rams earlier this year on Thursday Night Football. It's a young defense, and right now they're going through their growing pains. They're going to be that much better next year. I know that I'm critical of the defense right now. I truly believe that this team is going to be something special next season. Whatever happens this year, fantastic. But next year, when they get another season under their belt and they're playing with Nick Bosa again and Fred Warner, and they have that much more experience, watch out for Alfred Collins. Watch out for Tatum Bethune. Watch out for Upton Stout. Watch out for all these guys because they'll be that much better.
I mean, there was a lot of conversation after week 6 when Fred Warner went down about how this team was going to be playing for 2026 and 2027. And by the way, I still agree with that. It's just that they still happen to be playing for 2025 and have continued to do so by stacking win after win after win. And yes, I know they have played some of the worst teams in the NFL. The Colts, not a bad team, okay? They're not a great team, and their season spiraled. They were not a bad team. The Chicago Bears, that's a good team who they might have to see again. And Seattle might be the best team in a lot of people's eyes. And as far as certain power rankings go, the theme of the 7 o'clock hour. So there you have it. Our cooler of content. Alfred Collins eats a can of beans. I might need to make a CJ West song. Maybe Mike Hull's going to get his own song for sure when he comes back and is healthy. I love the way he was playing football, even if we're going to look back in the offseason at some point, by the way, and we're going to be like, oh, I don't know, Michael Williams needs to make that second-year jump because everyone's going to forget about the film and they're just going to look at the statistics. And, I mean, talk about getting a lot thrown on your plate, dude. Nick Bosa, the guy that was opposite you and is supposed to make your life a lot easier, he played 2 and nearly a quarter of football this season, and then it was Michael on his own. And talk about areas that this team needs next year. That's going to continue to be someone who can set the edge in the run game, someone that can use sheer athleticism and force to break up some plays. I really love the potential of a Michael Williams, and so it stinks that he got injured on the MetLife turf, which I hate so deeply much. But I'm not looking at the 49ers first round thinking, man, they really blew it and could have taken somebody else.
No, absolutely not. No, I remember that day that we were at Jack's restaurant, and you called earlier in the day, didn't you, with my pops, where you were like, I think Michael Williams is going.
It was our Greg's-cellent pick, yes.
Greg's-cellent. And then, of course, my dad made the face on camera be like, ooh, I don't know about that one. The truth is he knew about the pick, and he was like, Greg's on the money there. But when it comes to Michael Williams, it's unfortunate that he got injured, and we look forward to his second season. And I remember when Nick Bosa went down, my take was, it sucks. Obviously, you don't want to lose Nick Bosa for the season, but it might be where this is a good thing for Michael Williams, where he's thrown into the fire a little bit more and has to, play, be that guy, be the go-to pass rusher on this team opposite Bryce Huff. And it's unfortunate that his season was cut short as well. I remember bringing that up with Guy Haberman, and I was like, you know what? It might be a mixed bag where it's obviously bad for the 49ers, but good for Michael Williams. And of course, Guy goes, no, of course not. It's terrible for. What are you talking about? Nick Bosa's out for the season. Are you mad, sir? And I was like, all right, fine. Calm down, Guy. He's gone. Anyway.
You beat me to it.
I know. But, I look forward to this defense being at full strength next season. But let's see what they do the rest of the way. And I will say, this 3-game stretch, I talked about this beforehand. I said that, they beat the Browns. Okay. Yeah, they beat the Carolina Panthers. Okay. Yeah, they beat the Arizona Cardinals. Okay. What about these last 3 games? I related it to years ago in 2019 where they had to face the Baltimore Ravens, New Orleans Saints, Green Bay Packers, that 3-game stretch. And the only one they lost was a field goal game to the Baltimore Ravens. If they make a clean sweep here and win all 3 of these games, damn, that's extremely impressive of what they've been dealt as far as injuries this year.
No question about it. It is Silver and Depop. John Lynch coming up in about 12 minutes, so really looking forward to that conversation. And I got to say, these early wake-ups, when we're able to get Dom Puny as the 49er Player of the Week, when we have the privilege of talking to John Lynch, it makes it a lot more fun. And I appreciate everybody who's checked in this morning as well, because we've gotten a handful of messages that are very thankful that we got something local going on right now instead of national. And I mean, I know it's a holiday time of year and societal norms have everyone taking a little bit of breaks. But when we talk to John Lynch, dude, I'm going to say happy holidays, I guess, but this is no vacation time for you. I mean, the 49ers and the stretch of games they got right now, what they're doing, it's as important as ever to be able to talk about it and break down the games, preview what's ahead. And so in a way, I'm really, really thankful that we're able to be spending this time together. Alfred Collins eats a can of beans. And by the way, I was not tipped off on the Michael Williams pick, so I don't want to be looped into this conspiracy that I was just fed information. Okay, he would Greg Papa would never give me that.
No, I'm not saying that you knew. I'm saying that my pops probably knew that Michael Williams was getting drafted.
Yeah, I'm just saying, hey, don't loop me in with two Gregs on this one. He's like, that's a secret info. I'm going to keep that one to myself.
How dare you? How dare you do that?
You figure it out for your own, young Gregory. You were named after me. John Lynch joining us in 10 minutes. Stay tuned for that. It's Silver and Depop in for Murph and Marcus on the Sports Leader.
Alfred Collins eats a can of beans. I love Alfred Collins.
Now, from the O'Donnell Financial Group Sports Desk. Learn more at odfigroup.com. O'Donnell Financial Group, because planning is a process, not a product.
John Lynch, 10 minutes, the morning show with Greg Silver and Derek Papa. Kind of weird, but either way, keep it locked in here on the Sports Leader. We love hearing those three dudes talk about football. And a guy that we all love, Alfred Collins, on the Sports Leader.
Listen to the sports leader anytime, anywhere. Download KNBR, the sports leader app. Murph and Marcus continue live from the Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix. Progressive jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Oh, you always hope the momentum helps you, but I just want him to keep being him. I'm not hesitating on stuff. When he sees it, let it rip. I mean, I loved how he's been playing. I loved how he's played all year. I love how Brock's played since we got him. But I mean, I think kind of early in the game shows you kind of where he's at. I mean, throwing a pick six on the first play, and you watch some guys, how that makes a person act and how they change after that. And he didn't change at all, personality-wise, demeanor-wise, what you see on the silent tape. When he's confident, he sees it, he lets it rip. If he doesn't, he gets rid of it, usually to a check down, or he finds a way to make a play. So keep being him and keep being aggressive.
And just like that, we are almost out of here. A little over a half hour to go, but don't go anywhere because we got John Lynch joining us in just a few minutes. That's right. It's Silver and Depop in for Murph and Marcus, and the 49ers getting ready for a Saturday night showdown for the number 1 seed against the Seattle Seahawks. So set those clocks, adjust the calendars, and if you're still hanging out with some family in the holidays, make sure they know the deal. It's no NFL Sunday. It's a Saturday night special on ESPN. You're listening to KNBR and KNBR FM San Francisco, the sports leader, a Cumulus media station. We'll throw it to some bowl games in about a half an hour. But that right there, Derek, Kyle Shanahan on Brock Purdy's game on Sunday wants him to keep being himself. And I don't know how much you and Copes or any of your fill-in hosts over the holidays got into the Marcus Thompson column after the Carolina Monday night game where he said, Brock Purdy can't shrivel. And by that, he meant not the 3 interceptions on 8 snaps in the first half. It was the 9 for 9 and checking it down in the second half, and essentially implying that Brock Purdy needs to be the guy that they know he is, the one who they went out and paid $265 million at $53 million a year. He needs to be the guy that can go and make plays for them, because if this team has a chance of doing anything special, like getting the number 1 seed, like making a run in the playoffs, it's going to be because of Brock Purdy. And if he passively plays his way through these games, yes, I know other teams are flawed, but that's just not going to be enough for the Niners to keep moving.
No, he needs to grip it and rip it. He needs to be, as the kids are saying these days, Glock Purdy. No, dude, his mix of his mobility and his decisiveness with the football sets him apart from most quarterbacks right now. And it was different. Matthew Stafford was playing a solid defense of the Atlanta Falcons on Monday night, but at times he got rattled and threw interceptions. You're seeing it all across through football right now. Josh Allen missing a throw and a 2-point conversion. And right now, I think he's the best quarterback in football. But even him, he gets a little rattled at times as well. Brock Purdy's just unfazed. And I think it is him being so focused. And I'd be interested to know what his process was during those 6 weeks he was out with a turf toe. Did he approach the game differently? Did he watch something differently? But he is so effing locked in right now. He's playing the best football of his career, in my opinion. And I know I brought up, playoff performances in the past. He is just so locked in. So, yeah, no question. It's funny because Marcus says that, they shouldn't check down. Their offense is not like this offense that chunks it deep, but he finds the holes in the defense. So, yeah, he shouldn't check it down all the time, but he's just so freaking aware of what's going on the football field. It's remarkable to watch with Brock Purdy. And it is a Brock Purdy story, Nick Wright. It's not just Kyle Shanahan. It's not just Christian McCaffrey. Brock Purdy's part of the equation as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's not a Christian McCaffrey story. It's not a Kyle Shanahan story.
Of course.
Christian McCaffrey should be in the discussion for Offensive Player of the Year. Kyle Shanahan, I've said, could be Coach of the Year. And if he wins on Saturday, I'm cashing my vote right now, my imaginary vote that I don't have. Maybe I'll force the other Silver who does have a vote to just write it down. I'm going to be like, I'm looking over your ballot illegally, and you are going to do as I say, or we're never having you on the show again.
That's illegal, Greg. You can't do that.
And we have now made the connection with the 49ers general manager, John Lynch, so let's get right to it.
He's humble.
I'm so grateful that you became our coach, Tony, and my parents were incredible folks, but I don't know if, anybody had the impact this guy did. Hall of Fame football coach, but even a better person.
He's lifted the Lombardi.
We're world champs, brother. World champs.
He's earned the gold jacket.
Tony Dungy, he said to us, our job is to win championships here in Tampa, but if that's all we do, we will not have done enough.
Now he's laser focused on a championship for the faithful.
Touchdown!
with the dragon, baby!
Here's the 49ers president of football operations and general manager, John Lynch, with Murph and Marcus on the Sports Leader.
And let's get it going ahead of Week 18. Our time with John Lynch is sponsored by Freedman's Appliance, proudly serving all of Northern California with a wide selection of luxury appliances. Visit them in Pleasant Hill to see the Freedman's difference. John Lynch is also sponsored by River Islands. Come home to River Islands in Lathrop and discover the San Joaquin River lifestyle with its lakes, parks, and schools. Start your tour today at riverislands.com. John, great to have you on. Greg Silver, Derek Papa in for Murph and Marcus here as we get ready to close out 2025. So I will say happy holidays to you, but as I think we're all pretty aware, the time for celebration, the time for reflection is all coming a little bit later because we are in the thick of the NFL season. And man, how exciting is this coming ahead Saturday night? Brawl for it all. Seahawks, Niners, number 1 seed at stake.
Yeah, always a lot made about schedule makers and all that goes into it, but I have to say they got it right. Playing the first game, playing the last game, Niners, Seahawks, and the fact we get to do it at home in front of our crowd, it's just awesome. The energy the other night in that stadium against the Bears, right to the very end, it was extremely memorable. And this is when you're playing meaningful football this type of year, when you get to do it at home for games that have great implications moving forward. It's a really cool deal, and I think every now and then you got to stop and savor those moments, and you didn't have much time to do that because it's onward. We got the quick turnaround, and hey, those are the cards we were dealt, and so you make the best of it, and that's exactly what we're doing, and we're excited about playing Saturday night against a really good football team in front of our home crowd.
Well, John, is going back to last Sunday night, the thrilling victory over the Chicago Bears. You just said it. You got to make the best out of it. Your team has been resilient all season long, battling through injuries. What did it mean to you to have Austin Pleasance and Jake Tonjes step up for Trent and George in their absences?
Oh, my Lord. I think it's just very indicative of what this season's been all about. You just used the word resilient. I think that's probably, if anyone asked me to describe this year's team, that's exactly what it is. And it really has been, oftentimes there's adages that people refer to, there's cliches, next man up. Well, this year we've seen that come to fruition. And, for Austin Pleasance, first play of the game, Trent Williams, we have a interception that ends up getting returned for a touchdown. Trent, it's always my favorite thing because that's when you really get to see his athleticism. You never like an interception, but Trent's competitiveness comes out. Nowadays we have these GPS machines. I think Trent on that particular play hit 17.5 miles per hour. There's receivers that don't run that in our league. But unfortunately, it grabbed his hamstring. For Austin Pleasance to come and play the way that he did, that had as much to do with our victory as anything. And Tonjes, made 7 catches, a number of them on third down, and just showed that no moment's too big for him. And we've been having contributions like that all season long, and we'll need to continue to have those. Because you never know what's going to happen. But I think, it probably helps the next guy when you've seen other guys be able to do it. And one thing I'll say about Austin Pleasance, I'm an early morning guy. That's kind of my deal. I'm in here early. I've gotten into the cold plunge like a lot of guys have, and I go down there and cold plunge. Austin Pleasance is the first guy in this building of all the players each and every day. And so I think it's not just some mystery as to why he was able to go out and execute. I think the other thing is, Trent takes vet days every Wednesday. That's something we do for certain players that are a little bit older, and we feel like need that. And so every Wednesday, Austin has been able to take those starter reps, and I think that comes in handy as well. So those two things probably helped us.
John, what's been unique about this year and your partnership with Kyle Shanahan compared to any of the previous 8? We've seen everything from NFC championships to injuries and missed playoffs, but you use the word resilient, and I think that's a great way to describe it. How do you see it from your perspective in the front office and your partnership here with Kyle?
been awesome. We've had a lot go on in our 9 years here. It always seems to be eventful. But I think the biggest thing is we've always had each other's backs. I feel blessed every day to be working with him. We happen to really enjoy each other, and so that makes coming to work easier. I can't say enough about the job he's done leading this team. I think I always sit back and marvel, and I probably didn't recognize enough as a player. I was in those rooms all the time watching the head coach, but you see, the head coach talks to his team each and every day. He talks to the media each and every day, the enormity of that job. And so, the team really takes on the personality of their head coach. And I think Kyle he hasn't blinked all year. And that's from the off season where we had a lot of transition and turnover on our roster. Something, we all agreed on and decided that this was what we needed to do as an organization. Not easy to do, but Kyle never blinked, and he said, all right, this is what we're going to have. We're going to embrace it. We're going to be excited about it, and we're going to get after it. And then, unfortunately, we went into a season where from the very start we didn't have George Kittle in the opener. We had battled some injuries in training camp. We come out of the first game. Brock had played a marvelous game against the Seahawks, and we find out he's got a turf toe injury. And so it's just like it started on that game, and then we've been through it. But I think when the guy who's up in front of the team every day is showing a never blink mentality, the players tend not to blink. And when he shows confidence in players and our team's ability, and the way he does that, he's just extremely real. He'll never fib to our team. He likes doing things. You say actions speak louder than words. Kyle likes showing guys, not telling them. He likes showing them why we're going to do certain things and why he has concerns. And I just think he's been masterful this year leading our team. And I think, we're in this position in large part because of that leadership.
Talking to John Lynch on the UMA guest line. The playoffs are different from the regular season, obviously, but do you feel these last two games, the regular season against teams you could see in the playoffs on prime time, are good tests before you actually do the real thing?
Yeah, I do. It's people always talk about, hey, this team is battle tested. I think in our division alone this year, a lot of really good football being played in our division this year. You see the records of three of the teams, and it's been a tough NFC West, and so I think we're certainly battle tested. We've played in every situation. We've gone east. We've stayed at home. We've turned over on short weeks. It's not like we haven't done this before. We've won on Thursday nights, and so we've seen just about every scenario. Again, I speak to the energy that we had in that stadium the other night. Somebody had told me before the game, hey, don't be surprised if there's a lot of Bears presence, that maybe 25%. I certainly didn't feel that. I felt the faithful loud and clear. And, one thing I'll say to the fans, that really matters in crucial situations like that last drive. Every second matters. And I think the inability to communicate all the time, that makes the clock tick, tick, tick. And so ultimately those things matter, and so bring that same juice and energy. And we'll try to give you reason to have that energy, and there's plenty of reason because we're playing for a lot in terms of the NFC West, the number one seed, and there's a lot at stake. We do have a great deal of respect for this Seattle team. They've earned that. They're a really good football team.
Yeah, well, looking ahead to this matchup, John, I mean, a lot of the faithful are eager to hear about the offensive Pro Bowlers that have popped up on the injury report. Trent Williams and George Kittle, of course, but then also Christian McCaffrey and Kyle Juszczyk. I know we're still a ways away from kickoff happening at 5 o'clock on Saturday, but what can you tell us about how they're progressing and getting ready to try to give it a go on Saturday night?
Yeah, I can tell you that George really was making every attempt to play last week. We had the short week coming off Monday Night Football, being back east, and it just made the turnaround. We didn't feel like it was wise, and really George woke up on, I think probably, I'm trying to get all my days right. We played Sunday night. Saturday, George felt pretty good. He pushed it a little on Saturday to try to see if we could get there. He woke up Sunday and he was sore. At that point, we just said, no, we're not going to do this as much as we need and rely. And then we have that performance by Tonjes. So he really picked him up, and George was able to rest. But I think the fact that he pushed it so hard last week in an effort to play, that's what the great ones do. And I always tell players, set your mindset like you're going to play this week, because if you miss it, you'll be that much closer for next week. So I think it sets up well. We were in a walkthrough situation last night. George was out there, so that makes me feel good about where he's at. We obviously got to get through the week, but I'd be very surprised if George wasn't out there. And Juice had a hip thing pop up. Juice is just he's a stalwart. He's out there every week, and so we kind of anticipate that being the case. But we'll see as the week progresses. Trent Williams, we talked about that very first play of the game. Interesting in that Trent, 37 years old, after the game, I asked him how he was. He'd never had a hamstring injury in his entire life, and so he really didn't know what it felt like. I always say this, the great athletes, and Trent Williams kind of goes to the top of that list, as good as I've been around, and they tend to heal a little faster, and the motivation is certainly there. We will have to be smart, and it is a tall task to turn around on the hamstring injury that he had, but he's making every effort. We'll see if he gets there. And who else are we talking about?
McCaffrey with the back.
Christian. Yeah. Oh, Christian. He's kind of important.
He's okay.
Christian, I saw him walking out of here the other night, and he looked like a guy who's had a lot of touches. And but Christian, he takes care of himself so well. I think Christian should be good. I think Christian will be ready. He knows how to get himself ready. What I love about Christian here the last couple of weeks, I've seen a little extra juice, man. I think I think the great ones know how to peak when they need to be peaking most, and I think we're seeing that with Christian right now. I'm seeing a little extra burst, the way he got out of there on that 41-yard run to our sideline. There was a little extra pop in that deal, and so I'm feeling really good about where Christian's at.
Just one more for you, John. I know you got to run to a meeting. It feels like an entirely different season from the last time you guys played the Seahawks in Week 1. Obviously, there's a lot of football to be played, and the playoffs are always the goal. But when you look back on this season from the offseason of the roster turnover, having way more rookies play on defense and all the injuries, has this group in a way exceeded even your expectations?
I can't say enough about this group. Whether it exceeded, I've always had a lot of faith in this group, and it's been an exciting year. To add all this youth to our team, I think was really fun. To mix it with a core group of really special players, it was really exciting. I think, Derek, where I'd say probably exceeded is with everything that has transpired throughout the course of the year, all the injuries we've had to endure. Couldn't be more proud and happy for our guys and their resolve to just keep going and not to blink. And when you do that, you find a way. And I think more than ever, 23, I just felt like we were pretty dang good. We were hard to mess with, and I think people knew that. We knew it. This year you don't go into every game saying we're going to dominate this team, but we're finding a way to win, and I think that's pretty fun to take that ride, and I think what happens in a season like that, the confidence grows and it grows and it grows, and I think that's where we're at right now. We're an extremely confident team. I keep saying it because it's not just lip service. The Seattle team's a very good team. Mike McDonald's an excellent coach. They make you earn everything that you get. John Schneider, my counterpart, I think he's as good as it gets. I've just watched him build and rebuild that team up in Seattle so many different times with Pete Carroll, with a new coach, and man, the personnel, they just keep coming at you with excellent football players. They're well constructed. They play the right way. It's going to be a fun battle for a lot at stake. It's so cool that we get to do it in Levi's, and going to be a tremendous scene out there come Saturday night.
No question about it. John, we know you got to get to it on the short week, so we really, really appreciate your time. And in the words of your third-round draft pick, as you experienced firsthand, let's do it, Coach. Saturday, 5 o'clock, let's do it. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Absolutely. John Lynch, 49ers general manager. Man, I feel like I could have asked him about 57 questions. But, speaking of 57, the magic of Big Play Dre, could it be coming back to Levi's Stadium here for another one seat at stake? I don't know.
We'll see.
All right, Tony Romo, chill.
Yeah, I know. We'll see. Yeah, my Tony Romo always turns into Chris Collinsworth. Here's the guy. Here we go, Jim. Yeah, from what John Lynch was talking about, it's crazy where this team was at the beginning of the year, and as he just said, it grows and it grows and it grows your confidence level as the weeks progress. So, when you listen to Kyle Shanahan, when you listen to this team, the brass, when the season started, I'm sure they didn't expect this, but as the season goes on and Brock Purdy's playing at this level, the offense is playing at this level, I think they truly believe. Now, does the defense need to step up? Absolutely. And if we had more time with John Lynch, I'd ask him, what does he need to see from the defense to feel a little bit more confident about that going to the postseason? But, we'll worry about that later. We'll see if they can get this win against Seattle, and let's see where the chips fall after Saturday night.
Well, he is John Lynch. If you missed that interview, you can check it out on thesportsleader.com, however you get your podcast. Really appreciate his time. When we come on back, let's recap some of his comments, find out what young Jacob learned today, and at 8:30, we're out of here, dude, and we'll see you in 2026. Yeah. Hey, come on. I want all the way to 10 o'clock. Come on. The audience ready to go at 6 o'clock.
No, you don't.
All it does is push my nap time up a little bit earlier, or maybe during this 5-minute break. It's Silver and Depop in for Murph and Marcus. I'm the Sports Leader.
Now, from the O'Donnell Financial Group Sports Desk. Learn more at ODFIGroup.com. O'Donnell Financial Group, because planning is a process, not a product.
You just heard the man, John Lynch, with Greg Silver and Depop on the morning show, giving you updates on George Kittle, on Trent Williams, on Christian McCaffrey, and hyping you up for that showdown against Seattle in the Wet and Wild at Levi's Stadium on Saturday at 5. Pre-game at 3 or 2 or whenever. Either way, keep it locked in here on The Sports Leader, Niner fans. If you want to know what John Lynch had to say,
And now it's time for the Protect Your Assets Business and Technology Report with me, David Hollander.
Listen to the sports leader anytime, anywhere. Download KNBR, the sports leader app. Murph and Marcus continue live from the Casino Matrix Progressive Jackpot Studios. Casino Matrix. Progressive jackpots are here. Where are you? Just drop in. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah, this one courtesy of the 949 on the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line. No official Silver Linings playlist because this is Murph and Marcus after all, but Saturday night's all right for fighting 5 o'clock. Niners Seahawks, you bet. We'll be off tomorrow, but we'll be back on Friday, 7 to 10. Maybe I'll have Greg Papa in with me. Could be JD. Either way, I don't know, but I'll be showing up and ready to go at 7. It's time, as we end every show in the morning. What did young Jacob learn today?
Now, it's time for producer Tony Farias to ask Murph and Marcus 3 questions of the day.
I think this is what did young Jacob ask today.
I think Jacob needs to learn the board. That's what he learned today. Yeah, I said it.
Whatever, man.
What did young Jacob learn is sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly. All right, so aside from the location of certain sounders, what do you got for us today?
Listen, the thing I learned today was that Katie Nolan is banging that Dan Loader guy, and I love it. And I love it. I'm all in on it. He's a KNBR guy. I'm a Dan Loder guy. I'm a Katie Nolan guy. That's
Soder,
what
dude.
young Jacob had to ask today.
It's Soder. His name is Soder.
I like Loder more.
Jesus.
Jack Loder's like, wait, I got a relative here?
Good Lord.
Wow.
I love it.
I'm going to have to incorporate this into our show somehow, as we got fill-in producers for Walter. Anytime we get Jacob on the board, I'm just going to be like, hey, so what'd you learn today? Unsponsored segment, kind of like the KNBR sports calendar for Dirty Work.
Yes.
All right, so Derek, we'll let it go in a second. I don't know how I even pivot from that, but final thoughts. I know you're off on Friday, so the next time you're on the airwaves, we will have a result as for 49ers Seahawks. It was great to have John Lynch on with us. And
Absolutely.
What are you looking for, man? This is a big one, and there's a lot of reasons why you could believe in both teams, not just this weekend, but in the postseason.
Well, I'll make it short and sweet. I think that when you look at this matchup, it needs to be the same that we saw last week against the Chicago Bears. Control the time of possession, run the ball, and try to score as much as possible, because I think that Sam Darnold could get flustered in this game, but also I do believe in the bulletin board material that Diamador Lenore is giving Jackson Smith-Njigba. So I think it's going to be a close one. But in the end, just to make all of you happy, I'm going with the 49ers 30-27. But also, keep in the back of your mind, we haven't talked about this, Brock Purdy's worst performance as a professional quarterback came against Mike McDonald when he was defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens. Different team, different scheme, different colors. But just keep that in the back of your mind, everybody.
No, Mike McDonald is one of the best young defensive minds, and that's why him going head-to-head with Kyle Shanahan as one of the best offensive minds makes this matchup so intriguing. Derek, I appreciate you filling in these last couple days. Have a happy new year. Enjoy your Friday off. I will catch up with you in the studio next week. Huge thank you to Jacob Violante.
Same to you, sir.
Huge thank you to John Joe Curley. And coming up next, it's the ReliQuest Bowl between Iowa and Vanderbilt. So I'm going to go take a nap, and Derek's going to be watching that bowl game, and then he'll take a nap afterwards.
Damn right.
That's going to do it for us. When it's time for a change, it is sponsored by Speedy Oil Change and Auto Service. We can fix that. And up next, Iowa, Vandy, the ReliQuest Bowl. Happy New Year, everybody. I will talk to you Friday at 7 a.m.
Alfred Collins eats a can of beans. I love Alfred Collins.
Ridiculous. Completely ridiculous.
He's gone!
KNBR and KNBR FM, your home of
San Francisco!
49ers football.
And when we do that, we play at a higher level.
That's the bird.